I'm Danny, I'm a drug addict. Did anybody see my hand shaking when I took the sip of water as I walked up to, it's gonna take about 5 minutes before I'm not nervous and God kicks in. And I was gonna spend that time thanking the committee, but TJ did a wonderful job of doing that. If you guys don't know or have never served on a convention committee before, it is the most stressful, least thankful, most rewarding job that someone can do as a part of recovery, right? Like, this is probably the committee's experience over the last couple of days. Everything's fucking going wrong. We have to change the times of this thing. We have to change the room of this thing. Nothing's going right, et cetera. And like, everything's crashing and burning. I will tell you from an outsider's perspective, as a guest, everything went fucking perfectly. So thank you very much to the committee for all of the tireless work, all of the work that goes into it before this, and the planning and the outreaching and the programming and the fundraising and the committee meetings and the egos and the everything. Everything, right? It's a really humbling experience to be entrusted to carry a message and share at something like this. And so I'm incredibly humbled that I was asked to do this. I'm not the original Danny, right? So there's like a little bit of a... So the book says something, I'm gonna say the book a lot probably, and when I say that I'm talking about the big book, and then I'm gonna say the book says, and then I'm gonna say something, and the sentiment will be correct, the exact words might not be the exact order, and so if you wanna fact check me, I highly suggest opening it up and reading it. Couldn't hurt, right? But the book says something to the effect of selfishness and self-seeking that we think is the root of our problems, right? I don't know about any of you guys, but when I showed up for the first time in a room like this and met people like you, right before I showed up, I was hopeless, I was helpless, I was distant, I was different. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. Nobody could relate. Nobody understood my struggle. And because of that, nobody had anything that they could offer me, right? And then I walked into a room like this and I saw people like you, and I realized, like, holy shit, I'm not alone. I'm not different. I'm not distant. Other people get it, right? I'm blessed to be, my sobriety date's March 17, 2011, and I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you. Phoenix is fucking awesome. And I'm grateful that I have a sobriety date. I say that because I remember like my first couple of meetings, I'd be sitting there listening to the speaker. I was like, okay, but when did you get sober? Because I want to know how much I should listen to what you have to say. From experience, that's a horrible hallmark of like spiritual fitness, right? But it's like the only like metric we have, you know? Like, I don't know how close you are to God, so I'm just like, how long have you been sober, right? But I'm like blessed to be from Phoenix, man. There's a lot of recovery in Phoenix, right? And so one of the very first meetings I go to is a room similar in size to this. It's a weekly meeting that has 200 to 300 people in there. And they're like, everybody with less than 30 days stand up. And I stand up and I look around and there's like 40 other people standing up. And I should probably get into what I was like, and maybe that'll happen. Listen, you guys are gonna find out what I say as I'm finding out what I say. This is a ride for both of us, right? But I remember seeing those 40 other people stand up, and I remember something hitting me the same way the first time that I snorted a line of Oxycontin hitting me, of like, holy shit, right? Because like, I recognized in that moment that all of those people that were standing up when I was standing up for having less than 30 days understood what it was like. They understood the experience. I think Oli was talking earlier and sharing about how in Heroin Anonymous he found a place where he found people that he could relate to. And that's one of the most important things that we do here is we offer a space where people who are hopeless and helpless and feel like they're distant and different can find people that they can relate to. I don't know about any of y'all, like, I got a bunch of family members who have done the whole, like, why don't you stop getting loaded? You have so much to live for, and you have so much potential, and you have so much going for you. Why don't you just stop? And it's like, I fucking tried. Like, I fucking tried. I stopped wanting to get loaded way before I actually fucking stopped, right? But how do I explain to them this war that's going on in my head from the moment I wake up to the moment I sleep? Fucking not even that. I'm not safe because my dreams are all about how I'm gonna get my fix, right? This war that's constantly waging, and this desire to stop and the utter inability to do so, right? I even had like the accountability buddy, right? Like the, hey man, I'm gonna keep you sober and you're gonna keep me sober and we're in this together and we're gonna ride this out together, right? That conversation only happens right after you get loaded, right? Like you're not fucking kicking and sweating and sneezing and shaking your legs and hot and cold at the same time and in the parking lot waiting for the headlights of the right car to show up in the parking lot you've been waiting in for 15 minutes. And you're never in that car at the moment like, you know what, man, let's just leave before he gets here. Never happens then. Always right after getting loaded, right? But like, how do I explain that utter inability to do the thing that I so desperately want to do, which is stop disappointing everybody around me, stop disappointing myself, stop crashing and burning to people who don't have the experience, right? And that's one of the most amazing things about something like this is I can sit here in this room and I can share that experience with you guys, and the laughter and the nodding and the smiles and just the presence in the room lets me know that you intimately understand that experience. And all of a sudden, when I got to treatment, I remember going into my counselor's office and I remember sitting in there. I got there like 5 minutes before she walked in and I was like, in my head, I was like, great, she's gonna teach me something she learned in fucking college or something. Like, no hate against college. I went there. It was great. But, like, I don't care what you have to say. Like, what do you know about living life the way that I had to live it for the last days, weeks, months, et cetera? And, like, I remember she walked into the room, and she was like, hey, my name's so-and-so, and I've been sober for 6 years. And all of a sudden, I can, like, hear my head pop out of my ass. And I was like, oh, I care about what you have to say right now, right? I forget who said it, man, but I want to echo that message because it's of critical importance of the fact that you can be of service anywhere, right? Like all of the folks that served on the committee, absolutely thank you. All of the people who, I was riding on the bus back from Niagara Falls today, and I was sitting there on the bus, and I had this experience of one of many. Like that was the mantra that was going in through my head today, right? Like as I was sitting on that bus, I was just one of many. And there's so much power in being just one of many, right? Like just being a part of this thing, especially for someone that has this spiritual malady that tells me I'm not good enough or I'm better than or I'm different from. And if I walk into a room and everybody starts laughing, they must have been laughing about me and I'm not in on the inside joke. And I have this thing that separates me from everyone else, man. That feeling of being one of many is one of the most powerful feelings I've ever had a chance to experience. The other part of that is anybody who, like, if you were here during the sobriety countdown, man, I don't typically get, like, emotional super easily, if I'm being honest. But we're doing the sobriety countdown, and the young lady in the back there stood up with 4 days, and if you saw the fucking way that the room jumped up and, like, rushed to express that love to that person, to let them know, like, you're in the right place, and we love you, and we're here with you. Right? Like that is a magical thing that I don't know where else and how often that happens, man. I'll share this and then I'll try to get into what I was like. On July 7th, July 5th. So just over a month ago, I got a call from my brother, and he was like, hey man, Nate's missing. And Nate's my younger cousin who's 26. He's like, Nate's missing. So we do all the things you do when someone goes missing, right? We're checking hospitals and jails and trying to get into the cell phone on whatever and all this stuff, right? And on July 7th, I wake up to a text message from my mother that says, come over to your aunt's house. They found Nate dead. And Nate was 26, and he wasn't one of us. There was no inkling that he was a heroin addict, a drug addict, an alcoholic, no substance abuse, nothing like that, right? Just like pure mental illness. And I still have the suicide note. It was a suicide. The next day I found out it was a suicide. They found his body in a car, and he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. And I still have the suicide note that I wrote before I went to treatment, right? And I don't know if Nate found a place that I was lucky enough to find of people who understood and shared in that experience and offered the example of, hey, I was there, me too, but now I'm smiling and I'm happy and I have freedom, right? Like, that's the thing that the 12 steps offered me and I've been able to experience is freedom, right? The 10-step promises that Teresa, who did a wonderful job last night, by the way. Can we give another hand for Teresa last night? It was phenomenal. And I love the fact that you touched on the 10-step promises, right? It's like my favorite part in the entire book. And it starts with, if we ceased fighting anything and anyone, even alcohol or even heroin. Or I'll touch on another thing too. It's somewhere in the book, it says right before we start the 4-step, our liquor was but a symptom, so I had to get down to causes and conditions. And then that's where I write an inventory, and that's where I identify that I'm selfish and I'm self-seeking, and like fears drive my life, et cetera, right? And like, I don't know if he had that opportunity. The second thing is, one of the regrets that I have is that I don't know that I did a good enough job of sharing with my younger cousin the experiences that I had with attempted suicide and all of that kind of stuff, and feeling like I was hopeless and I was helpless. Because my experience has shown me through working with other addicts that there's power in sharing that experience. And maybe if I shared that experience with him, maybe he would have been comfortable enough to open up and share what was going on with him and see that it's possible to make it out, and maybe this outcome would have been different, man. And so for anybody who just fucking showed up, for anybody who has had a conversation with someone, for anyone who has seen someone sitting by themselves and went and introduced yourself, for anyone that has made someone feel a little bit more comfortable showing up to a meeting like this, fucking scared out of their mind, not knowing what's going on in their head, spinning out of control, having that war going on inside of their head, and gave them a little bit of time of peace and respite and freedom. Thank you for your service. And the ironic thing is, you might have no idea how many people you have helped just by your presence. There is absolute power in just that physical presence that people have together. So thank you for showing up, right? And so I get a text from Adam like literally 8 days ago. And he's like, hey man, there's a last minute opening for a speaker. Do you have a tape and are you willing to show up? I'm like, I look at my calendar. I'm like, yeah, I got nothing going on next weekend. Here's the tape. Sure, maybe. And then I get a call and they're like, yeah, we'd love to have you. Would you come out? And so I booked the flight, and like the reality behind that, man, is like, I guess first let me do this. My like if there was a buffet of all the like drugs, right? I would have went to the opiate section, right? Like I would have been like, oh yeah, Oxycontin. Anybody remember when they switched the formulas from the OCs to the OPs? Bro, fuck Pfizer for that. Like that shit fucked my entire life up. I mean, it's probably doing the Oxycontin that fucked my entire life up, but that was a quick, like I was like, freeze it and then heat it up in the oven and then microwave it and then like, bro, oh my goodness. And so like, if there was a buffet, I would have went to the opiate section, right? But if they were out, like I wasn't gonna go home. You know what I mean? I wasn't gonna be like, all right, man, I guess I'll come back tomorrow. Like, now what would have happened, right? And so I remember the first time that I did Oxy, man, and it was just like a lot of other things that I've done in my life where I had no idea what was going on. Someone that had some experience was showing me the way. It was like my fucking drug sponsor, basically. And he's like, this is what you do, and this is what a hose clamp is, and like all of that kind of stuff, man. You know what I mean? And I remember the first time that I snorted a line being like, oh, this is what life is supposed to feel like. This is the first time that I felt okay in my own skin. This is the first time that war has kind of quieted down and I feel comfortable. This is the feeling that I want to chase no matter what. This is the feeling that I want as often as possible, right? And I go through the things in college to do that, and I'm selling drugs, and I have like the same pair of basketball shorts or sweatpants with the burn hole in the crotch from nodding out. You know what I mean? See, other people have had that experience. You know what I mean? So it's like, if I shared this at like Thanksgiving dinner with my family, you know what I mean? Like, you know the looks I would get? Like, what the hell? Or like at work, I work a corporate job right now where people think I had like a 3.8 GPA because I do like analytics, and nah, man. Like, nope. 2.06. Good enough to graduate. Uh, but like, that's the experience that I'm having, man. And then I get to, I graduate, I move home. My parents kick me out in the most enabling way possible, which is they get me an apartment complex and pay for the first month's rent, and then they take a 6-month vacation overseas. It didn't end up being 6 months. About a month in, I get a nice little letter on my door from the apartment complex letting me know that they've informed the U.S. or the marshals or whoever it is that does evictions that I haven't paid rent at all, and they don't really want me living there anymore. I get a notice from my work that I don't work there anymore because I haven't showed up. It's really hard to get out of bed when you're kicking. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of hard to be like, oh, let me go fulfill my obligations when I haven't had the thing in my system that I need in order for me to fucking wake up and face the day, right? And I wasn't able to get it for a little bit, and, you know, like, fuck everything else, because that's what comes first, man. And I'm, like, looking for, I have this thing saved in my phone. So every year around my anniversary, I read my suicide note. I still have the piece of paper, and I don't know of a better way to try to like explain or share what I was like, except to say this was my experience. Says, I've been planning on ending my life for a long period of time off and on. Over the last week, a lot more on than off, to the point of researching the most painless and least deforming methods. Aside from strangulation, I've had no tools to go through with it, and I did see to what point I could handle it with direct TV cords around my doorknob on multiple occasions. Now I may be able to go through an overdose. Why? I can't live this broken anymore. Every waking moment, I wish I wasn't. I needed help. Asked for help, but not loudly enough. Professional help. I've had suicidal thoughts since 13-ish, mainly due to never feeling connected to any significant relationships. I wasn't socially awkward, but I just couldn't develop them beyond a certain depth. I've been having these thoughts dominate my mind since Saturday. It is now Friday night, and I have the means to attempt it. To all the people who tried to contact me, I know I'm sorry doesn't change anything, or probably make you feel any better, but I hope you know how much that meant to me. A week ago, I would have thought no one would have noticed nor been troubled very much, but the sheer number of people, number of calls and texts was honestly astonishing. Now I do know how many people have some care for me. I love you, and I'm sorry. The fact is, I'm broken beyond repair. That's what I'm like before I meet you guys, and before I find a room like this. I'm broken beyond repair. I remember sitting in that apartment complex. The only thing of value that I have is a car. And I remember looking in the back of a Phoenix New Times and finding a place to pawn that car in order to buy enough pills to overdose. And I sell the $7,000 car for $700. And I get to a Motel 6 room and I buy as many Percocets and Xanax as I can so I can overdose. And I take 2 steps out of that Motel 6 room and I get a phone call from someone that I hadn't talked to in like 6 months. And he's like, hey, do you have any drugs on you? I'm like, yeah, I actually just picked some up. He's like, can you sell me any? And what I didn't share with you guys, like my entire experience in college, I played the drug dealer, right? It was like this ego thing or gave me some value or purpose or power or whatever, right? What I didn't realize in that moment and what I came to accept a couple years later when I was at my home group and someone pointed this out to me was that was God coming to me in a drug deal. Like, it didn't make sense to me because there's a guy, I think everybody has that guy who's like, God comes to you in everything, right? And so like, I explained that story and Terry's like, Terry's our guy. He's like, hey, it's amazing that God came to you in a drug deal. The Arizona people are like, yeah, Terry is that guy. And I'm like, Terry, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, how else do you explain someone reaching out to you when you haven't talked to them in 6 months, offering you the only thing that gave you value in the moment where you feel the most valueless, right? And in that moment, the only thing that would have given me value was being able to hook somebody else up with something that they need, right? And so I sell half of what I'm supposed to pick up, and I pick up the other half and stomach pumped and back of the ambulance and hospital and detox and whatever, right? But that's what I'm like before I meet you guys, right? And then now, right, like my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, texted me the other day, and I have a nephew who's just turned 5. And she texted me. She's like, "Oh, I'm getting Maxwell's his name. I'm getting Maxwell ready for bed." And it's like 8:30. He's like, Maxwell says, "Uncle Danny says 9 o'clock's not too late, so let's just go to bed at 9." You know what I mean? And like the fact that my 5-year-old nephew is with his family at home, and he's like, "Uncle Danny said," right? Like, I don't know how to put a price on being able to have, like, I love kids because like they don't know how to be anything other than authentic, right? And you guys have shown me how to develop these connections with people that allow me to have this authentic connection and relationship and consistency and presence with my brother and sister-in-law and parents and aunt and cousins and nephew, and right, like I'm a genuine part of their life, right? And so if you guys take this person that is broken beyond repair, that is hopeless and helpless, that has no light at the end of the tunnel, and you tell him to do a bunch of things that he doesn't understand and doesn't really even believe in, right? Like I came into these rooms and you guys were like, "All right, man, here's the steps." And I was just like, I'm not doing like 7 of those things, right? That God word I have a massive problem with. It wasn't that I didn't believe in God, like I just didn't think God believed in me. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think God wanted anything to do with me. And then you guys would tell me to do things that like just didn't make sense, right? Like I would show up and you guys were like, "Hey man," I'm like, "Hey, I want to kill myself." And you guys are like, "All right, cool. Will you help us set up chairs? You probably won't want to kill yourself after that." I don't really understand what that's like, but okay. Like, "Hey, my mom won't talk to me." And you guys are like, "All right, cool. Like, will you make coffee?" I was like, she doesn't drink coffee. You know what I mean? And like you guys tell me all these things, and like I'm so broken in that moment that I just don't know what else to do, right? And so you take that person and you give him the experience of feeling freedom, right? The ability to like wake up in the morning and be comfortable in my own skin and go about my day and not cause any wreckage and get to bed at night and feel comfortable in my own skin still and go to sleep peacefully. How could I not be of service to somebody else, right? Like, would that not be the most selfish and self-seeking thing that I can do? To say, "You know what, man, I'm too busy," right? And I've done that before, right? At the end of those 10 steps, it talks about resting on our laurels, right? And I've been deluded enough to think that I'm too busy to do the things that got me the gift that made me too busy, right? And gratefully and thankfully, I've been surrounded by a fellowship that is active enough and does the things out there that we talk about in here, that have acted as bumper rails, that when I get a little bit too far off from the center, have pointed me back in the right direction of getting new again, right? Which looks like, "Hey man, go to a meeting, shut up, help somebody, pray, meditate, talk to God," right? And so, you know, like it's not a linear path in my experience, right? So I go to treatment, I get in there, like I'm walking up to the doors, and I'm like curled up in the fetal position in the back of my brother's car, and I'm 23 years old, and like I don't really want to be alive anymore, right? I don't see the hope or the point. And we get out of the car, and there's a kid, he's like 19 years old, and he's walking back from kissing his girlfriend goodbye, and he's wearing a Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze t-shirt, and I'm just like, "Yep, you're in here," right? Like you go here, bro. And I look at him, I'm just like, "Hey man, how is it in here?" And he looks at me and he smiles and he goes, "It's not that bad," right? And the same feeling that I had that first time that I had tried that OxyContin was the same feeling I had in that moment of like, I don't know what the fuck they got going on in here, but if you have experienced half as much pain, misery, suffering as I've experienced in the last days, weeks, months, I absolutely have to have whatever's going on in here, right? And so they give me some Suboxone, I stop withdrawing, I check in that night, go to sleep, eat some French toast the next morning, and I'm just like, "All right, man, let's do whatever this rehab thing is," right? And I didn't know what it was, if I'm being honest. I thought like they just kept me there for 30 days and then like I can piss clean and then I leave back into the real world and like I'm fine, you know what I mean? And so like I behave that way, right? So I don't know how it works out here now in Phoenix. If you're in a center, you don't like just, like we could just sign a piece of paper to go to a meeting, like we'll be back in 2 hours, promise, right? That doesn't really work out nowadays. Like they got the vans that take everybody to the meetings, you know? But I would go to these meetings with folks, right? And then I bought the big book because like if I didn't buy the book, they would have known that I didn't buy the book, so I had to buy the book, all right? And then I went to the meetings, and some guy after the meeting was like, "I'm your sponsor." And I was like, "Cool, man, I'll see you later." Then I got back to the center, and they're like, did you get a sponsor? I was like, yeah, Craig or Mike or Joe or something is my sponsor. I don't have his number, but like whatever. And I'm doing the things, right? I'm putting on the good face. I'm puppet mastering the perception that I'm giving off to people around me, right? It's all of that spiritual malady where I need to control the world around me in order for me to be okay internally, right? If I change the world around me, maybe I'll change myself inside. That's the thinking that I'm going through in that moment, right? And so I get a 30-day chip, right? Which is kind of fucked up because it was a keychain and I had just pawned my car, so I didn't really have keys to put on it. But I go get this 30-day chip, and I get back to the rehab, and I'm about to graduate in 2 days, and I'm twirling the keychain at the smoking section, and I'm smoking, and I'm looking at it, I'm reading it, I'm pissing clean, and I'm like, finally, you know what I mean? And I'm about to get out in 2 days, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the thought hits me like, I wonder what heroin feels like. And I must have said it out loud because somebody was like, I can get heroin. I was just like, prove it. And he did. And this is what's going in my head in that moment, right? My roommate just graduated, so I have the room to myself. I just drug tested, so they're not going to drug test me again. I'm pissing clean for the first time in God knows how long, so I'm probably not going to withdraw. I'm graduating in 2 days. I think God's telling me that tonight is the night for me to do heroin. And like, look, man, God of your understanding, right? Like, I don't think my God's like, hey, heroin. You know what I mean? Like, don't think so. Maybe, actually maybe. Like, I used to think that, but like, here's the reality. That entire time I was in treatment, and I was like, I'm a physical opiate addict. I'm not addicted to weed or alcohol. If that's your thing, then I feel bad for you, but physical opiate addict over here, I'm going to drink and smoke when I get out of here because I'll be okay, right? I didn't believe that I was powerless, right? I didn't believe that my life was unmanageable. It's kind of hard to not believe that when you don't have a home, you know? So I end up smoking heroin for the first time 2 days before I graduate from rehab, right? And as I'm going through the motions of doing that, like there's a part of me, I relate so much to Jim who put the whiskey in the milk, right? Like that sense of like, I'm not being too smart, and I know this isn't the right thing to do, but I can't, it's like I'm watching myself do it, but I'm not able to change the course of actions that I'm taking, right? So I end up smoking heroin, and I get down there, and like, I'm ready to go graduate. We hang coffee cups at the treatment center I go to, and the director's like, Danny, you can't graduate. I'm just like, what do you mean? And she's like, you smoked heroin. And I was like, yeah, but I went to all the sessions. You know what I mean? Like, I participated in all the meetings. I didn't realize this was the golden rule of rehab. You know what I mean? It's a pretty fucking important rule, you know? And like, God bless her, right? So I go into the room where I'm supposed to hang my cup, and I share with everybody. I'm like, as you can see, I don't have a cup, and I can hear the air leave the room, right? And you talk about feeling broken, man. Like, I walk out of that room, and like, I can't stop getting loaded. I can't end my own life. And now rehab didn't fucking work. Like, what the fuck? And the only thing I remember was the 60 to 70 people that came up to me and said, don't beat yourself up, 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 right? The people that offered me grace and understanding and experience and an ear so I can vent or experience that I can relate to. And some dude named Ben from New Mexico that I'd met like 2 days before waited while I packed all my stuff up, took me to a sober living house, gave me a packet, and was like, hey, man, here's a bunch of sober livings. Call as much of them as possible until you get a bed and just say, hey, I just left treatment. I might fail a drug test right now. I don't have a job, but I'm willing to work, and I'll get a job as fast as possible. And I was like, Ben, I don't know where you come from, but that doesn't really sound like a thing that people would be willing to help me for. Like, people don't help me, Ben. But I had nothing else, so I fucking did it. And like the second place I called, they answered the phone. They're like, can you be here before 4? I was like, yeah. And so I showed up, and I moved into that sober living house that day. And like, here's the reason why I said maybe God was like, you should do heroin today. It's because that's the first time that I finally surrendered, man. And what I mean by that is I forfeited the right to make my own decisions, right? And so I accepted the idea that I didn't need to understand why or how or what, right? If you look like you were smiling and happy and content with your life and had light in your eyes and you said, this is what I suggest, I just fucking did it. Right? I remember early on my counselor was like, you should go to sober living for 6 months. And I was like, what about like 30 days? Like negotiating with her as if it was going to impact her life directly. You know what I mean? Like, no, I'm not going to do it. She's like, all right, whatever, man. And she was like, so I go into sober living. They're like, hey, you know this continuing care thing that you were going to do 1 hour a week? You should do IOP, which is 3 hours 3 times a week. Okay. Hey, you should get a sponsor and like start calling them every day. Okay. You should get a home group. Okay. You should get a service commitment at that home group. Okay. My sponsor's like, hey, you should get numbers at every meeting you go to. Okay. And I'm calling my sponsor, and he's like, hey, man, you should pray every morning and every night. Okay. All right. I don't believe in God at this point, but okay. Right? And so I'm like, I don't know how to pray, Roth, as if like God doesn't speak English. You know what I mean? Like, hey, man, God speaks English. I was like, oh, that's a good point. That's a really good, like, I thought I had to use the right magic words. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I was raised. It was like a bunch of thys and these and whatever, like old English type shit. And so my sponsor was like, yeah, man, listen, when you wake up in the morning, say, God, please keep me sober today. When you go to bed at night, say, God, thank you for keeping me sober today, right? Okay. Didn't have the energy to say no. Didn't have the energy to debate. Just started doing the things, right? And the reality is I was going to do this for a year, and if it didn't work, I was going to go out and get loaded. And so I'm doing that, and about a week later, I'm talking to Roth on the phone. He's like, how's the praying going? I'm like, Roth, I got to tell you, man, I am talking to nothing. And he goes, perfect. Keep talking to nothing. And over a little bit of time, I'm talking to nothing, and then I start to have this experience kind of similar to the one that I'm having right now, which is like, I'm talking, even if you haven't made a sound, I know you can hear me, but this isn't exactly a dialogue, right? And so like I'm praying, and I'm like, oh, there's something that can hear me there, right? And then over a little bit longer time, I'm having these experiences that are a little bit too neat and fit a little bit too perfectly to be explained by like random happenstance, and all of a sudden I feel the presence of God in those moments, right? I start to get these like chills and like feelings inside of myself where I'm like, oh, I know that there's something that is taking care of me, right? And there's a number of those experiences that I've had in my experience in recovery, and I don't know, I'll talk about a couple of them, and then I don't want to keep y'all too late. So the first one I think came at 2 years. I went to this convention, ICYPA, International Conference of Young People in AA. It was like all right, we're at an HA thing though, you know what I mean? Like, so we go to this convention, and the convention is a similar experience to what a lot of you people might be experiencing now, which is like the outside world just doesn't really exist for the entire time that I'm at the convention. And so it's from Thursday to Sunday, and we're just there, right? And there's like thousands of people that are there. And I got sober young, man. Like, I was nervous when I got sober that like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like read books and like bowl and play board games to have fun. You know what I mean? Ironic thing now is like I love reading books and I love playing board games. You know what I mean? It's like I think I'm old or something. I don't know. But you know, I show up there, and like before the main meeting, like people are just like dancing and having a great time, and like people are up till always because they don't go to sleep and pull all-nighters. And I'm meeting people from all over the world and like everywhere, and like again, similar to this experience I'm having now, right? I'm just one of many, right? And I have that experience, and then after the convention, the committee kind of joins together, and they share their experience of all the programming and the fundraising and the outreaching and the committee meetings and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sitting in that room, and I'm hearing everybody share their experience, and the only way I can really explain it is I felt the presence of God in that room. It was nothing but brotherly love for each other individual in that room, right? No ego, no higher than or less than. It's everybody's on the same plane, right? Nobody's on a pedestal or nothing. And I know that because I wasn't on the committee, and they let me in there to sit in, right? I was really good friends with a lot of people that are on the committee, but I didn't do the fundraising and the outreaching and the programming and all the work, right? I just showed up. And because I showed up, I had an amazing time, but I was looking in the eyes of the people that were sharing their experience after that convention, and I could realize that I was missing something. They were getting something a little bit more pure out of that than I was, right? They had something that was a little bit more powerful than what I was getting. And like any good addict, like I wanted what the fuck they were getting, right? And so I leave that room, and I'm like, I'm gonna do whatever I can to capture that feeling. Book says we drink because we like the effect produced, right? And they got an effect produced that I didn't get, and I was like, oh, I like that, if I want that, right? And so we leave, and I see people walking their dogs and like putting gas in their car and doing like regular everyday person shit as I'm like leaving the bubble that is that convention. And then I had this thought hit me of like, man, I feel bad for you guys. Right? I feel bad for those people who don't have rooms like this and people like you to share their experience with, because I don't know how often they get to experience that feeling that I got to experience when I was in that room with everybody sharing, right? But I get to have that experience as often as I'm willing to take a little bit of action, as often as I'm willing to pick up the phone and call somebody, as often as I'm willing to pick up the phone when someone's calling me, especially if I know they're going to ask me for something, right? As often as I'm willing to share at a meeting, as often as I'm willing to serve on a committee, as often as I'm willing to take somebody through the steps and see the light come on in their eyes, I get to have that feeling more and more and more. And the irony is that feeling is such a more powerful replacement for the feeling that I was chasing with Oxycontin or Percocets or heroin or fucking whatever, right? And then I get back there and I read the suicide note, right? And I start bawling because I don't feel like I'm broken beyond repair anymore, and I'm experiencing some of the freedom, right? And I'm taking the action, right? And that's the thing that like is so important in my experience, is taking the action, right? Because like I showed up, but like if I was starving and I went to a restaurant and I showed up and watched all you guys eating at a buffet, and then I was like, man, that looks good, you guys are definitely eating, all right, cool, and then I left, like I would still be hungry after I leave, right? And I don't need to understand the way that the program works. I don't need to understand why the steps work, right? If I take the action, right? It's like if I show up at that same restaurant, I go in the back, I'm like, all right, cool. So like paprika in the oven to 350 in 20 minutes and braising, whatever braising is, all right, cool. Like I do those things, then that's how you make this dish. Got it. But I don't eat any of it. I'm still starving when I leave, right? Not knowing how or why, but taking the actions, I will still get the effect produced by taking the actions, right? Because I've understood that taking these actions will allow me to experience that freedom, but gotten too busy to take those actions and gotten to a place where I'm miserable again, right? One of those other times where something happened that was a little too neat was when I was 4 years sober, and I'm a groomsman at my buddy's wedding, and so we're doing the wedding rehearsal, and so I like work, like 8 of you are from Phoenix. So I work here, picture a map. I'm here, I work here, I live here, wedding rehearsal's here somewhere in the middle. I'm going to go pick up cigars, so I go way the fuck up here, right? I'm going to go way the fuck up here because if I want to have a drink, I'm going to have a drink, and I'm not going to stop myself, right? I wasn't doing the praying and the meditating and the sponsoring and the service commitments and all that kind of stuff at that point, right? I had gotten too busy. And so I drive up there to go pick up cigars, and I'm in the parking lot, and I'm fumbling with something, and I open my door, and I'm getting ready to get out, and I hear someone go, "Is that Danny?" And I'm like, who the fuck is up here right now? And I look up, and it's my sponsor who's up there at that moment. I'm like, Roth, what the fuck are you doing here? And he's like, every month, me and a couple of coworkers come up here to smoke cigars. They all bailed today, but I decided to come anyways, right? And the thing about Roth is like he lived kind of more east than I did and worked kind of way over here and had absolutely no business being up there at that moment, right? And I think about like, what are the odds, right? What are the odds that it would be on this day? What are the odds that he didn't hit one more red light on the way to this cigar shop? What are the odds that this is the random cigar shop that I picked out of just Googling cigar shops and Google Maps and saying this is the one, so that we show up and I'm still in the parking lot rather than in that bar with a drink in my hand, right? And so I tell him what's going on, and he gives me the advice that he's given me several times, which is get new again. And I get back into the car, and all I can do is just look up and just be like, yep, I get it, right? And that experience has happened a couple more times, and if you're interested, I'm happy to tell you stories afterwards. I don't have time to tell all of them, but here's the reality, man. I came in here thinking that there was nothing, no such thing as a higher power or whatever, super prejudiced against the idea, right? And now, like, my experience has shown me that something, right? The way that the second step was explained to me is like, are you willing to believe that potentially there could be maybe some power that could be greater than yourselves? I mean, that's a lot of fucking caveats. Like, how do I say no to that, right? And my experience has been the more often that I seek something like that, the more freedom that I'm able to experience in my day-to-day life. And so, like, what I really have, again, quoting the 10th-step promises, what I really have is a daily reprieve contingent upon the maintenance of my spiritual condition. And so, like, how do I maintain that spiritual condition, right? Well, selfishness, self-seeking, that's the root of my problem. So how can I be selfless? How can I be of help to other people? How can I try to perform God's work well, right? And I have found no better way to do that than sharing with folks like you, right? Not just sharing my message and my words, sharing space, sharing time, sharing energy, being a present participant in stuff like this, right? I could feel the chills in my body when people are celebrating someone new reaching a milestone, right? I could feel the chills in my body when someone's sharing some vulnerability and other people are giving them the comfort that, hey, man, we can make it through this, and like there is some possibility. I could feel that experience when I see the light come on in somebody's eyes, and they are starting to experience that freedom they thought was impossible, right? Two last quick stories before I wrap up. One is it's like 2 years ago now. There's a guy that I sponsor who's in and out. And so he calls me, and I'm talking to him about like, hey man, maybe you should go to detox. If you're willing, I'll take you. And he's not willing. And then like an hour later, he's like, all right, I'm willing. So I go pick him up, and I get another buddy. And we go pick him up. His name's Dylan. Dylan's 23 years old at this time. We go pick him up, and he's in the back seat of my car, curled up in the fetal position, and one of my best friends is in my car in the passenger seat, and we're driving, right? And I remember being 23 in the fetal position in the back seat of a car on the way to a detox. And I'm hanging out there with my best friend that I've had for fucking years, and we're driving down to this detox, and I get a phone call from a number that I don't recognize. So I answer it, because now I can answer numbers that I don't recognize. I mean, like, I'm not worried about what's on the other end. Like, that's not a promise, but it should be. Just like the unwritten promises of HA. Like, you can answer anybody's phone call. And so I answer this phone number, and it's somebody that's like giving me the spiel. I don't know if they do this where you guys are from, but in Phoenix, a lot of people will have their sponsees call people and read the actor scenario when they're working that third step. And so the guy's giving me the whole thing, right? He's like, hey man, what's going on? My name's so-and-so, and so-and-so is my sponsor, and I'm like, he's gonna ask to read the actor. Like, yeah, there's this thing in the book. I'm like, yep, you can read the actor scenario. Absolutely, man. And so we're driving, and I put the phone on mute, and I put him on speakerphone, and I'm sitting there in that car, and I remember being the person who was 23 years old, curled up in the fetal position, scared shitless, hopeless, helpless, no light at the end of the tunnel. And I remember being the dude on the phone. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm calling someone I've never met, and I'm asking them to read something. And I'm sitting there in that car with like my best friend in the passenger seat and me in the driver's seat. And it's this like full circle experience of like, I have been and I am all of these people wholly dependent on my level of willingness to take action, right? And so we drop him off at that detox. We start working the steps, and he's like on fire, right? And I wish the story had a happier ending, man. He calls me one day right before he's working his fourth step. He's like, hey, man, I got high. And I'm like, all right, man, well, like, what do you want to do, man? Like, let's get back on the horse, man. And so we have a conversation, and then like a couple of days later, we get the Dylan's missing conversation happening. And then like the next week, I get a phone call from someone like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm good, man. And they're like, oh, you didn't hear. And I was like, Dylan died, didn't he? He's like, yeah. And they found Dylan OD'd in his car, man. And it can happen quick. You know what I mean? And the other experience that I had was there's another guy that I sponsor that had been in and out for a while. Again, calls me one day. He's like, hey, man, I need to work the steps. I'm like, would love to, right? And so he's doing all the stuff, and we're working all the steps, and he gets through his steps, and we get to this place where he gets a year sober, and it's like the first time he's had a year in God knows how long, and he has this barbecue at his house, at his parents' house, right? And so I show up, and I meet his mom, and like he's amongst like all of his family and cousins and brothers and friends, and there's like 50 to 60 people at this house, and we're having a good time. And then I got to leave early, and so I go to leave, and I say goodbye, and he's like, oh, let me introduce you to my mom. So I meet the mom, and the mom gives me the whole like, thank you for my son back conversation, right? And like, I don't take any credit for the work that he put in and the connection that he developed with whatever his higher power is. I'm just humbled to have been a part of that experience, and I take 2 steps out of his house, and I start bawling, right? Because like, I don't know how to put into words the experience of seeing the light come on in his eyes, or seeing a mother breathe easy because their son is doing okay, right? Or having somebody that you spend so much time with experience freedom. It's the same type of thing of trying to explain to like my family member that isn't an addict why I don't have a choice and keep doing the thing that I need to do. I have to have the experience in order to understand it, right? And like, I realized at some point that like maybe sometimes the price of admission to the thank you for my son back is like, some people don't make it, man. Everybody in here knows some people that didn't make it, that if they did, all of these empty chairs would be filled right now, right? And so what we have is this humongous responsibility to be of service in whatever way we can to the people around us. That was crazy. I think God's being like, hey, man, all right, cool, wrap it up. All right. Cool. And so I appreciate whatever happened that the universe kind of put together to allow me to experience this event this entire weekend. I don't just mean sharing with you guys, because right now I will leave here feeling a high that I was chasing with alcohol and drugs for so long, right? But the experience that I've had this entire weekend of just being one of many and being equal to everybody else, and being a part of this thing, right? That feeling of, hey, you're in the right place and you're home, that so many people don't have and are seeking to find, right? I am eternally grateful that I have this disease because it allowed me to find you guys, right? And you guys allowed me to find a connection with the God, and that God allowed me to experience the freedom that we offer. Thanks for letting me share.